is the Wall Street Business Network.
Are you one of the 9 million Floridians living in a community managed by a property manager or HOA? If you've ever wondered what your rights are as a resident or what your role is as a volunteer board member, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Condo Coaches, your resource for when your gated community starts to feel more like you're stuck behind bars, or when that guy next door decides that a hot pink Chevy on cinder blocks really sets the tone for the neighborhood. The Condo Coaches is brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. And now your host, Johnny Torres.
Hi, everybody. Thank you once again for listening, watching the Condo Coaches radio show from anywhere, everywhere you may be doing so. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you are listening to us via the radio today, you can catch a previous episode on YouTube. You can catch them on iTunes. You can catch it on Stitcher. There's lots of platforms out there, but every episode is on Facebook. Every episode is on YouTube. Make sure you can find them there. And then, of course, the podcast versions, again, iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And that's where you can absolutely consume every episode you want. And what's fascinating is the amount of people that love the podcast. I mean, I think we've had over 300 listens on the podcast, which has been remarkable. We've got people all over the country listening to the Condo Coaches, and we wish we could help everybody because we got listeners as far as Seattle that are now tuned into the Condo Coaches, and we appreciate you for doing so. Again, for those of you maybe listening for the first time, the Condo Coaches, we are a team of volunteers providing our expertise in the various industries and our backgrounds, all in an effort to help your homeowners or condominium association run efficiently, effectively, and on budget. And we do that every week by bringing in guests. We talk about all the hot topics that are happening and all the different community associations that we are helping. And we bring also your emails and your Facebook messages, and we integrate that all into one great show for you. So we hope you enjoy the next hour. And with me, as always, head coach Dean Akers.
Good afternoon, Johnny. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. It's I know you had some trade shows that you were just at, and tell us a little bit about that.
We attended 2 trade shows, one in West Palm and one in Orlando this week.
Okay.
Our booth was the number one booth. Clearly, it was packed the whole time.
Awesome.
What made it even more fun this time is we had book number 3, which is finances for the condominium association.
That's right.
And book number 4, which is the elections for condominium associations.
Hot off the press.
Hot off. So we had all 4 books. It was so popular. People kept coming back, bringing their board member friends and saying, hey, do you want a set of books? Or can I get a set of books? So the books have become one of our biggest values for sure.
At this point, you're having to limit, each party to one book per person.
Yeah. No, fortunately, we've been doing a lot of printings. We're at the 4,000th printing of book 1. 4,000.
That's unbelievable.
Right.
Well, and I think we printed all in all about 4,000 of each of the booklets.
Oh, now we have, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there was a running of 1,000 of each of the 4 booklets. And so last week, I mean, we had those printers going like crazy.
Right.
And the boxes, I mean, they had to bring over a huge truck. I think it was something like 30 boxes they had to drop off for all these booklets. And if you are not sure what we're talking about these amazing booklets right here. And I'll hold them up for those of you watching on YouTube or on Facebook. These booklets right here are the Condo Coaches playbooks.
Yeah.
And they're easy to get, and they're free for you. If you're listening to the show, all you got to do is go to thecondocoaches.com/playbook. That's thecondocoaches.com/playbook. Right there, you're going to see an easy little contact form to fill out, just a little bit of information so we know you're a human, a real human being trying to get a hold of us. And as soon as you fill out that form, we email you right back both of these booklets, and we'll have booklets 3 and 4 as well now going out on all the emails. So even if you signed up before, feel free to go back to the website, fill out the Condo Coaches playbook form again, and you'll actually get the 2 new booklets as well. And so the first booklet here is the top 10 most important things you need to know if you're a COA or an HOA board member. And the second book, again, one of my favorites, is Collecting delinquent association fees, and this is a hot topic, and we're absolutely talking about that today, just to give you a little bit of a preview. And then, as Dean mentioned, the other books have to do with the ABCs of board elections, and then the fourth book is Understanding Your Community Association's Finances.
Yep.
All of those incredibly valuable, which is why we keep these away with lock and key on our website. All you've got to do is fill out a simple form, and you're going to get each of those in a very easy to download, easy to print PDF, absolutely free.
Well, and also, certain people like hard copy.
Yeah.
So if they email, we're mailing. I've mailed hundreds of them out, or we have them delivered by our various condo coaches across the state.
Right. If one of our coaches is in the neighborhood, they'll be more than happy to drop them off for you.
Yeah.
But we do mail them to you. So if you want a mailed hard copy, and again, there's 4 of these now. So I don't know how much longer Dean's going to be happy mailing these out because it's going to get expensive real quick. But if you want hard copies, send us an email to help@thecondocoaches.com. help@thecondocoaches.com. Tell us your name, give us your address, and of course how many copies you need, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of these booklets in the mail.
Absolutely.
Because again, not everybody's into the digital reading and that sort of thing.
No, we still have. We still have associations where board members don't have email.
Right.
They're typically the plus 55 communities.
Sure.
It's understandable, but whatever it takes to help an association, we're going to do.
Right. Well, and again, feel free that if you do get the PDF version, feel free to print it out on your own. Feel free to make copies.
Absolutely.
So if you do find a hard copy, maybe you ran into Dean at a trade show and you got yourself some hard copies, feel free to make copies. We won't be mad, I promise. And again, this is all about spreading the knowledge, spreading the love, because this is incredibly valuable information, and we have seen firsthand, and we see it every single week, the impact that this information has on your homeowners association.
Absolutely. And when we get in today's show, one of the key things you and I found is 50% of our questions come from homeowners in the associations, other come from boards. We don't have a dog in the fight.
Right.
In other words, we're not on one side or the other. And those booklets are particularly helpful for even a member, because then they understand the mechanics of a homeowners association.
No, that's absolutely right. I think it helps to smooth out the communication problems, which, as you and I say often and just about every show, leads to many of the problems that we talk about on a weekly basis.
I tell you what, communication problems, if you really boil it down, leads to everybody's problems.
That's right.
Even at home. There's something universal about that. It's not always... And one of the big things that we're doing with the condo coaches, and it's been fun, especially when we're doing these financial reviews and stuff,
right,
is I did a big one down in South Florida this past week, and I opened it up with kind of like what we're going to be talking about today. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion.
Yep.
But they're not entitled to their own facts.
No, definitely not. Let's start the show off, as we always do, with the emails and messages that we get through help@thecondocoaches.com, and of course all of our social media outlets, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We're watching there, looking for your questions, and we answer them here on the show. The first one's from Joe. Joe's emailing us from Pinellas County. He says, I'm interested in your Robert's Rules of Order book. Can you please email them to me? Well, Joe, we would love to do that. The only thing is that we don't have a Robert's Rules of Order book, but you can find it in just about any bookstore. I was at Barnes & Noble, my fiance is a high school teacher, and so she gets a nice discount there at Barnes & Noble, and they have plenty copies. They have the thick copies. They have the more kind of abbreviated versions, and so there's probably a dummies version out there too.
Well, it's also, you can go online. There's
tons of websites.
Well, for PDS, I've got the book, okay?
Right.
You don't need the book.
Right.
You need those cheat sheets of motions and everything else. If you really want to learn all the ins and outs of the book, which is a lot of history and stuff, you can get everything you want off the internet.
Well, and the cheat sheets, as you mentioned, I think is a much more practical way to start implementing Robert's
Rules.
Because you know that, okay, this is the map you have to follow.
And I had a great discussion with another board about that just recently, and they totally agree with me with one thing. First off, they agree they need to have that format. But remember our tip last week when we said the podium?
That's right, the podium.
We set a podium up, changed everything. So when somebody would scream out in the back corner, like they always did when the people were all over the room, that the chairman would say, I appreciate that. Would you approach the podium and share your opinion. We'd love to hear it.
Right.
Well, what happens is it keeps it organized. It keeps it focused on whatever's up at that moment.
Well, I like to call it the magic box, right? Because again, in school,
that's right.
in preschool, you don't get to talk unless you have the magic box.
Exactly.
And I think it gives people a few minutes to gather their thoughts, maybe rethink what they should and shouldn't be saying once they get up there, because lots of emotions running high in these meetings typically. And I'm so glad to hear that the podium worked out for you.
Yeah, but it was funny because everybody laughed. We got a podium, and then it just changed everything.
Yeah, they realized they had the light bulb moment.
Yeah, light bulb moment.
That's amazing. All right, so Joe, thanks so much for your email. And again, you can find the Roberts Rules just about anywhere online or at a local bookstore. Sorry, I'm still getting over this cough. I've had it for about a week now. But anyhow, we have kind of some longer emails here that we've gotten. So I'm trying to pick and see which one we can kind of delve into pretty quick. One of them is, so there's a board that I guess has not been enforcing some of the rules, and it's one of those things, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I hear about this often. This one gentleman says that he's been there about 30 years, and it seems that they may have had like an illegal meeting. He says that he's one of the residents that does go to all the board meetings, did not hear about the meeting. They passed a rule change allowing for some things he didn't like, and excuse me, turns out his neighbor is parking boats in the back of the property, which he's incredibly unhappy about. And sure enough, the board under this meeting, which may or may not have been legal, passed a rule allowing for boats on property. And so he wants to know if he has any legal recourse, being that they may have not only had an illegal meeting, but also used invalid proxies to get enough votes to pass the rule change.
I mean, everybody has legal recourse. You can register your complaint, and we'll get you to do that.
Yeah, we'll get back to the answer on that. It's the Condo Coaches radio show, segment 2, coming up.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
With everything you've done to lift up those around you during your military career, we're not going to let your money concerns get you down. We're the NFCC, and we've got your back on this one. As your financial advocate, we're dedicated to improving the financial health of all members of the military community. Whether your debt issues are related to student loans or housing, or involve credit cards, our goal is to help you to defend your financial future. NFCC certified credit counselors have already made the difference for thousands of military members and their families. Let us make a difference for you and yours. Schedule a confidential financial review with an objective nonprofit NFCC financial counselor. Call us today at 877-404-6322. That's 877-404-6322. Or visit us at nfcc.org/military. You owe it to yourself. Get relief now.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you once again for listening. The Condo Coaches radio show, from anywhere and everywhere you may be listening. Again, you can catch our live stream on Facebook at facebook.com/the Condo Coaches. We typically record the show Mondays at 1 o'clock, but make sure you sign up for those notifications so it sends you a little message when we do go live. And then, of course, we also put the show over on YouTube, so you can catch all of our episodes on YouTube as well. And we also put up all the blog posts. We also put up interesting articles. So make sure to follow us on social media. I want to get back to this question. So the gentleman's lived in this community about 30 years. It's a small community, only about 31 homes. The neighbor's parking boats in the backyard. And it turns out his neighbor, I guess, was pretty friendly with the board, because the board then decided to allow for boats in the backyard. They passed a rule saying that he was allowed to have boats on the property. The only problem is that according to the resident, and we're just kind of taking the facts as they're presented to us, he's saying that he was never notified that a meeting would be taking place. He says he typically shows up to all the meetings, did not receive a meeting notice, also said that they did not have enough votes to pass the rule change, so that they may have used invalid proxies to pass the rule change. And so we were talking about, does he have legal recourse if they knowingly violated the Florida statutes in this situation?
Well, he certainly has legal recourse. And normally it happens through a mediation process, and we'll reach back out to him and get that information from one of our Condo Coach lawyers.
Right.
I always say, it gets back to what we said in the first segment, it's communication. He needs to reach out. He can do a documents request, and they have to produce all the documents for the minutes of the meeting and everything else.
Minutes of the meeting, the notice of the meeting.
Notice and all that. So he could, my first steps, if I was him, is I would request the documents. If he knows approximately when this happened, if it was this year, I would just request all the documents for transactions, board meetings, annual meeting, budgets, whatever, for this year. And then they have to respond within 10 days, I think. So I'm not a lawyer, I'm a condo coach, but they have to respond within 10 days. And then he can go, they have to have it within 45 miles, I believe it is, in his area. And he can go view the documents and stuff and feel good about it.
Well, and you also we're saying how it also, I mean, the sooner the better, right?
Yeah.
In terms of, because it's more likely that they're going to have all the documentation and everything. And the longer that this goes on, the less likely he's going to have a challenger. Do you think even if it's a year from now, he'd still have?
Oh, yeah. They have to maintain the documents.
Yeah, right.
So the biggest thing for communications, and we're seeing it all the time now, is there's just no reason, with everything being stored electronically, if they have a professional management company, I'd be shocked if everything isn't stored electronically, where he could get it or they would send it to him. And I keep telling boards, like I say, we represent both sides, homeowners and boards. We're trying to help everybody in the community. I tell boards all the time, let it go. Give them the documents.
Right.
They're entitled to it. Why make it a gauntlet to get a document?
Yeah, no need to make it Fort Knox to get a hold of these documents. I mean, if you're keeping them on Google Drive or Dropbox or one of these services, obviously don't keep it open to the public, but only there's a setting there where only the people who have the link will be able to access those documents. And you can also make it to where they can't edit those documents.
Right.
Where nobody can touch the documents. They can look at them and even download them, but they can't actually physically manipulate the documents that are in that folder.
Right. And it just goes back to what we said in the first segment, communications.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the next email, because we do have a couple more, and these are pretty lengthy, and so we definitely want to get to them because we know that there's lots of situations like these in other communities. Also want to mention the show's growing. This show, again, we're little by little, we're taking over the state of Florida. We want to welcome a new station, WJNO, down in West Palm Beach. They're a great radio station down there, very powerful radio station with a great audience, and also a big condo market, big homeowner association market down there. A lot of retirees, a lot of retirement communities, that sort of thing. But we want to welcome WJNO onto the Condo Coaches radio network, and we're really excited about the response we've not only had through the trade shows, but now it's just going to be explosive now that we have the radio show on in West Palm Beach as well.
Yeah, what's funny is we've done more on-site condo coaching sessions in West Palm Beach that they heard about it. We're just going to open it up. That's the second largest market in Florida.
Well, and we didn't even have the show broadcasting in West Palm Beach.
No.
And so, I mean, I hope you're ready to put some more miles on that car.
I got my seatbelt on.
So, welcome to Palm Beach County and the surrounding areas. We're happy to have you as part of the Condo Coaches radio show. Going back to our emails, we've got an email here from Julie, also in Pinellas. A lot of Pinellas emails this week. Her husband and I purchased a mobile home. They've lived there for about 14 years. When they moved in there at first, no deed restriction or homeowner association for years. Now, there's a lot of snowbirds in Pinellas County, and even specifically in this community. There was a company that was collecting quarterly fees that covered just some of the basic expenses, streetlights, trash, and a clubhouse. Problem is that when the snowbirds were out of town, the clubhouse was essentially shut down. So Julie became frustrated with that situation. She wasn't able to rent out the clubhouse for her daughter's birthday. And that's kind of where things started to snowball. So she wasn't able to rent out the clubhouse. And then somewhere along the way, the snowbirds, I guess, decided to incorporate and create what is now a homeowners association, and asking people to join the Homeowners Association. And even though she never accepted it, she never turned in the paperwork to join this Homeowners Association, she's asking, is she now part of this HOA, even though it was not really done with her permission?
I'm going to be reaching back to her. That was a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And there's even more that I mean,
yeah.
it's just, I couldn't even cover.
This is something, yeah, it's a different statute that covers mobile home parks.
Okay.
So there's some other stuff. I will say this. My experience is that when they have these clubhouse associations and stuff, they're very much standalone. And they're very much like, they're not an amenity of the Homeowners Association.
Got it.
They literally are like a vendor, if you will. I mean, they charge X dollars per unit to have the pool and all the stuff and the whatever.
And they can set the hours, or
they can do whatever
days
they
of
want.
operation,
yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And if she's been
even
there,
if her fees were going towards this particular amenity,
I don't know that, because I'm not that familiar with mobile home statute. I think it's 721. I'm going to get one of our condo coaches to look at that, because there's all these subtle nuances depending on which one it is, whether it's a co-op, a condominium. 718's condominium, 719's co-ops, 720's homeowners, right, and 721's mobile home.
Okay.
There's little nuances in each one of the statutes. So, but she brings up some good questions, and those are the kind of questions we really want, and we'll get some feedback, and I'll try to get feedback to the show, because that's what we're here for, is to ask those answer those tough questions.
Right. And well, Julie, I mean, while we appreciate it, I mean, that's a pretty lengthy email that we're going to have to deconstruct there. And obviously there's a timeline that affects, what you can and can't do in that type of situation there. But we certainly appreciate you reaching out to us, and we'll definitely have one of our condo coaches reach out to you very, very soon. We got another lengthy email here from Nancy, also in Pinellas County. And to protect Nancy, we won't mention the community, although they do give us the name of the community. But we're just talking about this. Nancy apparently is having issues obtaining copies of the condominium documents, of the monthly balance sheets, meeting minutes, that sort of thing. She's saying, now this is a new one, she's actually having to request via certified letter a date and time to meet with the property management company to go over the documents.
Well, she needs to send the certified letter to put them on the 10-day notice that she wants to do it. Then they'll respond back to her within the 10 days,
right, and
say, you can come in this day, or they're usually pretty good about being flexible.
But instead of, let's say, sending the letter to arrange that meeting, couldn't she send that letter to request a copy of the documents instead?
Well, but what'll happen is she can come view the documents. They don't have to print them all up and put them in the mail to her.
Okay.
They have the 10 days, and they can go to the wherever they are, the property management firm, the law firm, wherever the registered agent is, and she should send her certified letter always to their registered agent, which you can find on Sunbiz.
Well, and again, you can also go to the county, because they do have copies of the documents at the county level.
They do, but they don't have necessarily copies of the board minutes.
Not the minutes, but at least the documents.
Yeah.
Which she's supposed to have as a resident anyways.
Right. Again, I can't stress how much it would be in everybody's benefit to have all the major documents in a PDF.
Okay. All right. So that answers the first part of Nancy's question. Second part is apparently she has a kind of a rogue board president here who not very popular in the community, but apparently the things that need to get done around the community, instead of hiring a licensed company, he's actually taking these things on himself. So apparently he has shocked the condo pool with chemicals and adjusting the water level. So he's doing the pool maintenance himself. He's doing some of the paint work, some of the roof work, some of the tree cutting work. He's doing all this stuff himself, which is an insurance nightmare. Because we've had plenty of insurance people on the show. But also, I mean, he's already been reported to the City of St. Petersburg Health Department, to the Licensing Bureau. We've running out of time in this segment, but we're going to get to the second part of this question, because that's a really unique situation, and I think she'll have some room there for to get this figured out. We'll be right back. The Condo Coaches Radio Show, Segment 3, next.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
Thanks, Julie. And coming up next, is there rain in your weekend forecast? We'll find...
Hey.
Hi.
It's been a while. Great place and nice neighborhood. You must have a strong community association board.
Thanks. I guess so, but I don't pay any attention to that stuff.
Seriously? How do you know for sure the board and community manager are making the right decisions to protect your investment?
I don't, but what am I supposed to do?
You can get involved and connect with CAI.
CA what?
CAI, Community Associations Institute, they're a nonprofit group that has helped us build a great community. They have free resources for your association board, professional training for community managers, and helpful information for homeowners.
Thanks. I'll definitely do that.
Is the time and investment you have made in your home and community protected? Be a smart homeowner and visit CAI at responsiblecommunities.com.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you once again for listening. Wherever you may be doing so, it's the Condo Coaches Radio Show, broadcasting statewide across the state of Florida and worldwide online, wherever you may be taking in the show, Facebook, YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud as well. Make sure you download that podcast, take it on your commute, because what you may or may not have noticed, what we've been doing mostly today is helping out homeowners, and so, as Dean likes to say, we don't have a dog in the fight. Well, obviously, we think that a lot of the dysfunction, I guess, for lack of a better word, in most communities originates with the board, and then it's just a matter of communication, a matter of logistics, a matter of getting everybody on the same page. But we feel that that's a good starting point for us. And so while we love working with boards, we do hear, I would say, just as much from residents as we do from board members.
Absolutely.
And we were just talking about Nancy from Pinellas County and her email. It's a long 3-part email, really. She's got a board president who likes to do all the handiwork himself. There's taking ownership of the community, and then there's taking ownership of the community, right? So she's been diligent about reporting the health department, the licensing bureau. What's kind of next to get this guy to, put the tools down and let some experienced people take on these projects?
Well, I don't know the association, so I'm going to give you kind of a generic opinion. One is if he's paying himself for these things he's doing, there could be a conflict of interest. Okay, that's that in itself. The other thing is he may be doing it out of desperation because they don't have the funds, and he feels obligated because he's in his heart he's doing the right thing, and he may be doing some stuff that's unlicensed and in the gray area, but he may be absolutely doing it for the best possible reason in his own mind, because the association doesn't have funds to pay for the painting or something. So if he's doing it and paying himself, and he's not going out for bids,
big red flag, yeah.
Big red flag. He needs to get off the board immediately, or not quit doing it.
But if he's not taking a cent, and maybe the community is just covering the cost of materials and that sort of thing, then there may need to be a conversation there that needs to be had in terms of why is this being done this way.
Correct.
All right, and the truth of the matter is that there's also a lot of liability here that I don't think he may be taking into consideration. If something happens to him, if something happens to a resident, in terms of him manipulating the pool, him working on the roof, there's a lot of insurance liability here too that he's putting the community at risk under.
Well, he is, but that's why he has insurance. If they don't have insurance coverage, that's a huge another issue. Forget him. But at the end of the day, they have insurance, and 99.999% of the time, you have to have workers' comp.
Right.
You carry a special coverage for those that get injured that didn't have workman's comp, which in this case, the bigger deal is he doing it in a conflict of interest financially? Is he doing it because the board or the association's tight on funds or upside down on funds? Yeah. There's a lot of questions there, and if he's doing it, if he's paying himself and not putting out for bid, that's a red flag.
Sure.
But it should show up
That's
in
a
the
big
budget.
problem.
Oh, that's a big problem.
And then to kind of wrap it up here again, this guy not very popular. Some of the other board members not very popular. This is a very common thing. I guess she wants to try to see about getting him removed from the board, maybe along with some other board members. Nothing wrong with her recruiting some people and maybe starting this process, right, for a recall.
She can do a recall. That's a pretty big deal. But the biggest thing is getting people to run for a board during a normal election. And if she was,
and that's easier. That's far easier.
Yeah, it's easier. And nobody votes for the president. By the way, all the officers on a board are voted on by the board.
Right.
So you're not electing a president, a treasurer, a secretary. All you're doing is electing board members. So if she and some of the other folks want to run, they ought to run.
All right. So, Nancy, fantastic email. Thank you so much. A lot to digest there, but we'll also make sure that you get in touch with one of our condo coaches to help you sort this out, because there's a lot to handle there, and we love those kind of emails. It's just a little bit tough to tackle here in a 10-minute radio segment, but I think we did pretty well there considering. Now, of course, we wanted to bring up an issue, a story that's been brewing here in the Tampa Bay media market. I guess that's probably been, a month, 2 months? This has kind of been going around?
Well, the story's been brewing, and I want to make it clear to all the listeners out there that this story's been brewing. We, as condo coaches, represent the owners and the boards. We represent condo associations. So we sort of don't have a dog in the fight and try to bring straight out, what did I say? Facts.
Right.
And so this has been brewing. It's been brewing on an instance that happened here.
Well, when we talk about helping homeowner associations, we're talking about not just the board, but the residents as well.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so the local newspaper here at Tampa Bay Times, again, we don't like to get into political stuff, but there was a recent editorial that came out at March 31st that really was pretty tough on condominium associations and boards. And like I say, we represent everybody. What was interesting is that they were kind of implying that these boards were just self-interested. They're a government.
Let's lay the groundwork for the story. I mean, really, the reason this has been such a big headline locally is because this home, or this family, lost their home. What is essentially a lack of payment of $150 to their homeowners association. That's kind of where all this originated, right?
Yeah.
And then what it turned out to be, after the media got involved and there was some investigative reporting and digging that took place, turns out that there was just really bad accounting practices being held or being done by the board of this particular association.
Well, that's what's in the article.
Sure, right.
Again, we're a net neutral party.
Right.
If that happens, then what we've done, I've had several homeowners reach out to the condo coaches, and they had a similar issue. Instead of getting into a big old media war about it, we have a template that we built so we can send it to that homeowner. They put the date, the check number, and a copy of the check in the back.
Right.
If they get it, we'll help go talk to the boards, because no board wants to do wrong if it's just a error.
Well, one of the things we always talk about, and typically when it's more insurance related, but it's document everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're stroking a check every single month to your association or a quarterly check, make sure that you get either a scanned copy or a picture, or you're documenting that check and that paperwork being sent to that association every single time you're doing it.
Well, and maybe you don't feel like doing that, okay?
Yeah.
Here, the reality is all the banking institutions today, you can click online, click to the month, and you can print the copy of the check and the statement, and the statement will say ABC Condo Association $300.
That's right.
Well, everybody knows that's not $300 of random money, and then just put a copy of the check. Like I say, we have sent several templates out to homeowners, help them. And what was interesting is one of the homeowners called me back up and say, I really didn't pay.
Oh, geez.
They thought they had been paying.
Sure.
And they just mispaid. They thought they were paying through their mortgage.
Okay.
So they weren't. And so it was a very embarrassing moment for her.
Well, and what we also find in some of these cases, and let's kind of go back to the story here a little bit, which is that the paperwork obviously mismanaged here, but they're trying to throw they're trying to throw everybody under the bus in this situation, talking about how horrible these homeowner associations are, how terrible these boards are. But what they fail to realize is, again, the financial burden that one home not paying its association fees puts on all of the other residents in that community.
Absolutely. I mean, our teams are doing financial analysis for communities right now.
Yeah.
We just finished one for a community, and when we finished it, there was $3,200 that every paying member had to pay for those that didn't pay to make a $0, zero baseline budget. So do you think all those people that are stroking checks for $3,200 think it's fair?
Pass me that worksheet, because you were showing it to me here before.
Well,
don't
show
went
it
on
the
air.
company. Don't show that company.
Well, it's far enough away. They're not going to be able to see it. But, this worksheet here, and for those of you listening, I mean, it's a pretty standard Excel worksheet here that Dean has created. You can find it on the condocoaches.com under resources. You can go in and fill in the information.
Actually, they'll want to send it to us.
Okay.
Because this is a deep dive we do for no charge.
This is a deeper one.
Yeah.
Right, but tell us about the one that's on the website.
Well, the one that's on the website gives us their basic numbers.
Right.
When we finish this one, we just finished this one for a board. We've been doing this. We had one board, for instance. This board right now has some challenges.
Yep.
And their challenges for what this article's saying, they should be fairer to the people who aren't paying. This is one where it's almost $3,500 that the paying unit owners are paying for the people that aren't paying.
Right. So every homeowner that is paying their association fees there is carrying an additional $3,000 to cover for the delinquent
to make it
association
net
fees.
neutral. Yeah, because associations are the board members have a fiduciary responsibility, just like a government official,
to the association.
Right. To keep it clean, to do all the things they're supposed to do. Guess how much board members get paid?
Zilch. That's
zero.
Right.
So I'd like to make a shout out to two people. One is the 325,000 board members across the state of Florida. That's CAI data, Community Association Institute.
Yeah.
I'd like to shout out to all those volunteers. I think it's incredible.
And again, it's easy to make your board members out to be the bad guy.
Right.
And I've done it. I mean, I've been in communities where it's like, oh God, they're starting to tow people for parking in the street and that sort of thing. But the truth of the matter is that, they're trying to be the responsible party here. Because they've taken on that responsibility. And what you don't see is all the good that they do as well in trying to protect you as a resident from carrying on that additional expense by covering for the delinquent association fees.
Here's a big number. And you remember, it's not my opinion, it's the facts.
Yep.
We know with all the analysis we've done that delinquencies are around 10%. Some of them have none, some of them have more. But there's $10 billion in assessments made a year to operate these, 47,000 communities. Okay. If it's a 10% delinquency, that means somebody's making a $1 billion shortfall makeup.
Wow.
And that's part of these people.
Yeah.
So when people go, oh, this is so unfair, we need to change the laws. I think people need to look at the facts, because the facts are when people don't pay, the other people in the association pay. This is not a political, it's, everybody falls down on their tough luck. And at any rate, so.
Well, and again, communicate with your board members. And I think that's going to smooth out a lot of the problem. We're going to keep talking about this subject here in just a bit. Condo Coaches Radio Show, final segment coming up.
Contact the Condo Coaches online at thecondocoaches.com. More of the Condo Coaches is coming up next.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. And you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Welcome back to the Condo Coaches, online at thecondocoaches.com. Here's your host, Johnny Torres.
Thank you so much for listening, and welcome once again to WJNO. For those of you listening to the Condo Coaches radio show for the first time, just want to remind you, we are a team of volunteers with expertise across just about every industry you could think of, and our goal here is to help your community and homeowner association run effectively, efficiently, and on budget. We love doing this show for you every single week. You can find us at thecondocoaches.com, thecondocoaches.com. You can also find us across social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I think we've even got a Instagram account. But you also want to check out our podcast version, especially for those of you in South Florida who may have a longer commute than those of us throughout the rest of the state. You can download the podcast version of the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and of course, what am I forgetting? It's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and I'm forgetting one. Anyways, so we are talking about a situation here in the Tampa Bay area where there was, I guess now it's kind of been pulled back a little bit. They almost foreclosed on this family's home over a missed payment of $150. And of course, it's very easy to make the homeowner association in this situation out to be the bad guy. But we're talking about the burden of delinquent association fees that it puts on the remaining residents. And oftentimes, while we certainly feel empathy for this family in this kind of a situation, it's a horrible situation to be in, especially over what may be, at the end of the day, an accounting error. The rules are in place to protect the community. And the reason that these boards exist is to protect the community. Now, again, no situation is perfect. No, there's some board members that are a little more exuberant and involved than others. And we even saw some examples of that early on in the show where some of them were kind of taking a lot of ownership on some of the responsibilities around the community. But if you were to tell a board member how to best communicate this to their residents, how would you go about doing that, Dean?
Well, a couple things is if a board has not passed a collection policy, they need to do that yesterday. Because
that is typically not in the governing documents.
Well, it's not in the governing documents, but a board member policy that has the steps. There's steps in there for sending notices and certified and all that. And that's even some of the statutes before you can lien. I mean, according to this article, it sounds like, you just go rogue and go take the house away. No, there's notification.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't have a dog in the fight. At this juncture, we have homeowners that have reached out with this problem, and I've sent them the template. And when they're right, it's very easy to rectify.
Well, and to play devil's advocate here on that family, too, like you said, there had to have been multiple notices, both from the association and then from the law firm. And then, this didn't just spring up from one day to the next and somebody show up and say, hey, we're taking your house.
Right. And if somebody's listening and is a homeowner that feels slighted like this particular instance, they're welcome to reach out to us. We'll give them our template. And if they've done it, it won't create this problem.
Well, and I think especially considering the housing crash that happened, over the first part of the 2000s, so I'm talking 2006 to 2013, 14. But during the housing crash, lots of people found themselves in this situation. And I think the one piece of advice I would give, because I found myself in a similar situation, is communicate that to your board. Say, hey, look, I lost my job. I'm kind of hanging out. Not that it's going to, the communication's going to help. It's not going to defer those payments, but at least you've notified them. They're aware of it. And maybe there is some sort of a plan of action that you can take with them. But maybe it's a payment plan where you can kind of regressively then go back and catch up.
That, believe it or not, is a gray area too.
Right.
Because there's a term called selective enforcement that our attorneys have been on the show. is if I help you one way and don't help the other person the exact same way, they can file suit against the board for selective enforcement.
But that's why the collections policy has to be in place.
That's why you put it in place.
Right, exactly.
And, you know, I live in the city of Tampa. If I don't pay my water bill, the city of Tampa doesn't go, oh, well, don't worry about it. We'll do something. They turn my water off.
Right.
If I don't pay my cable bill, they turn it off. If I miss my property taxes, they put a tax lien on my place, and they can take it ahead of a mortgage.
Right.
So I don't know how these, and then the association, this article, this was almost embarrassing. And again, I don't have a dog in this fight, either side, but to call these de facto city halls known as homeowners associations, they act just like a city hall. They're responsible for a lot of things within those four walls or the gates of those communities the condominiums. They have a fiduciary responsibility just like a mayor, just like a city commissioner.
Only to the association and its governing documents, not to the individual residents.
Correct. And, you know, it goes on, you know, this article, we don't try to get political.
No.
But when I read this article, you know, it said, instead, here's a quote, instead, they should see themselves as partners in keeping people in their homes and work with them other ways to collect their dues. And then it goes on to, this is an editorial from a big newspaper. Associations owe their members an obligation deeper than cash. Look, I'm just going the law, the requirements of an association.
We need to have this editor on the Condo Coaches.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to reach out to him because this is just not wrong. This is wrong facts.
Yeah, well, and again, this is, again, coming from the Tampa Bay Times, so let's kind of put it out there in case anybody does want to go and look for the story and look for this editorial. But again, this being portrayed as an editorial in one of the state's largest newspaper can be misinterpreted as facts.
Yeah, and I just, like I say, we represent on the Condo Coaches 3.4 million condominium and homeowners association homes, the 9.3 million residents, and the 47,000 communities. That we're both sides. But to have this kind of editorial going out, painting one side so bad, this is bad for the homeowners that are paying for the non-paying homeowners.
That's right.
Forget the board.
And this throws the fuel on the fire that the HOA is this evil entity, which is made up of your neighbors.
Right.
And your fellow residents.
Right.
I mean, it's not like these people are brought in from out of town or they're hired by some company. These are your residents. These are your neighbors that are trying to help run your community.
And they're elected.
That's right.
I don't get upset at articles, and we stay out of the kind of the fray.
Yeah.
But this was so inaccurate on behalf of every resident in the homeowners association, not boards. I mean, they're implying that homeowners should pick up the tab for the homeowners that don't pay.
Well, you know, as we've said before, because we've done an episode, and for those of you listening for the first time, you can go back and find it on Facebook and YouTube, but we've done an episode on collecting delinquent association fees, and as we jokingly recommended, I mean, that maybe they should start a community chest.
Exactly.
Where everybody's chipping in, and if anybody falls behind, they can pull from that community chest of funds that are there in case someone can't make their association payments.
Yeah, I told the board one time, let's start a community chest. We had everybody sitting there, probably about 30 residents, and I said, everybody up for ponying up $300 extra a year to help the others? I got a resounding no. And in this one association that we showed you, the paying members mathematically to make this budget net neutral.
So the paying homeowners.
To make the budget net neutral for the people that haven't paid, each one of them will have to write a check for $3,200 for those that didn't pay.
That's unbelievable. And that's the impact that they don't see, right? Because it just factors into their monthly premium, and then they're wondering why their fees are going up every year.
Well, and in some cases, some of these associations get in trouble, and that's where we come in. Right. We're helping them.
And they have to do assessments.
Well, then some of these will go into receivership. Now they're going to pay $100,000 for a receiver, and he's going to come in or she's going to come in and run this thing like a business and collect those monies.
And there's no gray area there.
No,
I mean, it's black and white.
Because the law is black and white.
Yeah.
And it protects. Here's the thing. according to this article, it's about the associations. It protects the homeowners.
That's right.
The other homeowners.
Well, again, as we kind of reach the final minute of the show here, we thank you so much for listening every single week. We love hearing from you, so please send us your Facebook messages, emails, also our phone number.
Comments on this. I want people to comment on it, too.
Yeah, we'll post this editorial on our Facebook page, facebook.com/the Condo Coaches. We want to hear from you. What would you do in that kind of a situation? Has your board faced this kind of a situation? So make sure you look us up on Facebook. And the other thing we didn't give out today, phone number, 813-331-5415, 813-331-5415. You can reach us at that phone number at any time. We'll get you plugged in to the Condo Coaches Network. And again, for those of you listening for the first time, you can find every single episode on Facebook and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for The Condo Coaches. That's The Condo Coaches. And make sure you go to our website and download our playbooks, thecondocoaches.com/playbook, where you get the top 10 most important things you need to know. Collecting delinquent association fees are all right there on the website. Thanks for listening to the Condo Coaches.
You've been listening to the Condo Coaches, brought to you by lmfunding.com. Find us online at thecondocoaches.com and join us this same time next week as we help you navigate life in your managed community.